The case for strategic interracial dating. Now, before I jump in, please calm down. I'm not forcing anyone to do anything. And if you're familiar with my blog, you know that I've already said that I do not think many or even most Black women are apt for interracial dating because of how we think. Most Black women have a mindset that anything that happens to them at the hands of another race of man is solely because of their race. And that mindset is just not optimal for a long-term relationship. And of course, worldwide racism and anti-Blackness exacerbates this mindset. But I came across this really horrific story on the BBC of a Ugandan man who used to be a bus driver here in London, tricking poor Ugandan women to travel to Dubai to engage in degrading and immoral sex and drug taking with non-Black men. One lady said her clients were largely European. This trafficker said to these women, "You have to go out there in Dubai and beg men to sleep with them, work really hard to get all these men to sleep with them." And so this is what a Black man has a Black woman doing in Dubai and many parts of the world. Some of these men were asking to pee, to poop on these women, to gang, rape these women, just really disgusting and horrific stuff. And two women are known to have died, clearly killed by this Ugandan sex trafficker, if you read the story. And of course, the Dubai police didn't care whatsoever. Actually, when one of the victims called the police, they said, "You Africans create issues for yourself." Now, this Ugandan man was openly selling these women from his country as open-minded and willing to do anything to these clients. Now, my first thought, as always, from Islamic slave trade days to Nigerian men trafficking women into Italy, forcing them to sleep with Italian men, is that Black men have no issue whatsoever with interracial relations if they benefit from it. Any digging like I've done into the darker world, you'll notice a porn star discussing how, he had to go to some big Black dude to get Black women to sleep with because there weren't many in the porn industry. Many times, wherever you see the exploitation of Black women, Black men are there. They are either even facilitating it. And that's quite unfortunate and something I think we may need to think about. Another thing that came to my mind is when the story was posted on a forum, additional info on what was happening in Dubai was provided when a man working for the trafficker said clients included footballers, musicians, politicians. And the reality is that powerful men allow Black men to, pedestalize their women and feel like they're winning with a white woman by their side. But you see that Black men's outcomes are still quite bleak because there's no gains truly being made. And deep down, these men can access a Black woman anytime, any way they want. And this is something Black women don't understand. I remember a pro-Black female influencer saying, "I can tell white men no, unlike the women before me." But this is a huge fallacy. Because of widespread poverty, globally and nationally, as well as having no line of defense, there will always be, unfortunately, Black women being exploited. And the same happens in the West. So understand, every race of man on this planet has access to Black women, right? I just want you to understand that. And it's up to us to think about how we want that relationship to look, because I want you to understand that they can have access to a Black woman in any way. And this is what happens when you have no line of defense or certain communities have not been built. This is the type of thing that happens. So when I added to the forum that Black men facilitate the abuse and degradation of Black women by non-Black men, but will still judge you for dating out your race, and brought up the topic of interracial dating, where other races of women who are exploited by the men in their communities clearly don't even consider those men as options for partnership, especially when they are in the West. Some said it was foolish, and the topic at hand is men hurt women. But don't Black women put Black men on the pedestal? And to me, if a Black man is tricking Black women into being used and abused by non-Black men, shouldn't we question what type of pedestal exists for black men if this is what they're willing to do. And even worse, the question is, what does such exploitation do to the image of black women when a black man is forcing black women to go around and ask men to sleep with her? And this is something they had no interest in doing. They wanted to come over to Dubai to work in supermarkets, but this is what men are forcing black women to do. Now, you can no way agree with me, you don't have to agree with me on this. Everyone has their different things. I think a certain way, but I'm speaking in general that, we know interracial marriages exist, but I just don't think in general, let me speak in general, that we can live in a world where black women put black men on a pedestal, right? They've told you, shown you time and time again, they're capable of causing harm to us like everyone else. Date solely these men who largely have poor outcomes, and then only see it fit to engage with non-black men through sex work, sugar baby, sugar daddy, pornography, or forced to engage with them through trafficking, which I said will definitely occur with black men walking around with Becky, because do not be fooled based on how white men and others are so obsessed with acquisition that they would allow that to happen and think they would not want to have access to black women. I just don't think that it will work for us where we're only engaging with non-black men in nefarious ways. I think that's very harmful to our image. And we have to understand that, you know, some black women cannot date outside their race and find quality partners. Emphasis on quality. Either it's your lack of refinement, your environment, and that's fine. Like, we're not gonna force anyone to do anything. We don't, like, everyone should focus on themselves. But I'm just saying that if a black woman came to me, based on the spaces I've been in, the things I've read, and asked me, what is, the most strategic option, it would be find you the richest, most powerful non-black man you can find and become his wife. Whatever that looks like for you, that is the most strategic option. And you will see other groups of women have offset a seedy image by positioning themselves on the arms of multiple races of men as a wife. And a lot of black men in the West, they typically have nothing positive to say about us. And so you see other races will say, oh, Asian women make the best wives. My Latino wife is great. And so people begin to think this isn't actually just something to satisfy a fantasy, a strange fantasy. This is someone who can make a great wife. And as black women, the more you align with other races, the more they'll have positive things to say about you. And I've seen this online. And or we will visibly just see happy non-black men with you. And so it's no longer this is just somewhere we go to tick off a fantasy, because the hypersexual image is very strong and it's not going anywhere. So it should work for you and not against you. But someone I can actually marry, someone who also actually has love to give and desires me back and isn't looking solely for a transactional relationship, which many black women have stupidly publicized. Now, it's obvious that most women, like I said, we've seen the darker side of male nature, that no race of man has a monopoly on. We know it's probably silly to date a man based on his fashion sense and his shape up. But we need to understand as black women that when we see the darker sides of male nature, it's not something to ignore. And I've written about how I think black women kind of, when they don't get much benefit from relationships and they also see the darker side, that kind of just makes them disinterested in the whole relationship. But you have to understand, this is a strategic thing. There is something powerful that you would even have a chance to upgrade yourself, gain certain resources through marriage. That is actually a powerful thing and a gift. So we need to understand that dating needs to be strategic. You have to think of the bigger picture. The backlash whenever you either bring up interracial dating is always like, you guys are brainwashed, you're obsessed with white men, or whoever it is, you're victims of white supremacy, you want to be Asian women, you want this. But I don't think most black women see value in whiteness alone, because I just think if that was the case, we would be looking for any Tom or Brad. Like, this is about strategy, and this is, we need to acknowledge that our position in the world is unfortunately very perilous. And so we need to make strategic decisions for the next generation, right? So for me, interracial dating isn't about white supremacy. It's not about acknowledging someone is better. It's about understanding that you cannot engage with the most powerful men in the world only through nefarious means. And you need to think about the next generation and what will help them in their image. This isn't a video forcing black women to date out their race whatsoever. It's up to us all to do whatever is within our means and whatever makes us feel comfortable. But I want you to understand the strategic power of a black woman with a powerful and or successful man based on things that are happening globally and nationally.